It has been said that average people want you to stay average. Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast, the podcast designed to challenge you to break the mold that average has on the world. Each episode offers insights directly from those who choose to break average every day. Now, for the latest insights, here are your hosts, Paul Gustafson and Rick Morris.
Hey, welcome to the Breaking Average podcast. I'm Paul Gustafson, and joining me is my co-host, Rick Morris. Rick, great to be with you, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning, partner. It's great to be here as well. Really excited about our topic today.
Yeah, I love this how-to series that we've been going through since the beginning of the year. And, you know, spring's coming up here. A lot of folks are anxious and excited about it. And there's just one element of spring that I think is really important for us. And once you dive in, why don't you share with everybody what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, we're talking about spring cleaning, but not that kind of spring cleaning. We want to do a spring cleaning of your finances. When we talk about these how-to series, we're not trying to come to you as you know, experts. We know everything, all that stuff. Really, the point of this is to share some personal experiences and give you some ideas and really encourage you to share some of your experiences back with us through social media and those things where we can build some tips and tricks of how to spring clean your finances, Paul.
Yeah. And I love you and I, before we turned on the record, you were talking about, you know, Dave Ramsey principles, and I love it. Love Dave Ramsey, but we're not trying to do a Dave Ramsey here, guys. We're talking about real concrete things that you can do beyond some of those things. Those are great practices. Love Ramsey's financial advice, but we're talking about the things that we've already done that we need to go back and fix and clean up, right? So what are some of those things that you were sharing with me a story, you know, some things that you're kind of cleaning up? Why don't you share with everybody what that is?
Yeah. So for everyone that's been listening for a long time, and we try to stay super vulnerable on the show as well, you know, I'm coming through the divorce, and it was really time to start tightening some purse strings. So not only, you know, going through a divorce, so you have additional expenses, but took a job at a startup, which is a lower salary than you're used to, right? For equity on the backside. So like we got really tight, right? We're getting really tight. And I realized how fiscally irresponsible I was being in certain areas of my life, especially around my business side, my corporate side in R Squared. I had so many things that I had signed up for. For instance, I had a Box account. I had a Dropbox account. I was paying additional for iCloud and paying additional for Google Drive for, you know, all of this different storage, and nobody needs that much storage in their lives. And so each time, like we use Dropbox to exchange stuff between you and I, but then, you know, Box was because I needed that for ClickFunnels. And then I had Google Drive is where everything else is. And then iCloud for my phones. And it got to be ridiculous. So, and it got to be so overwhelming that I'll go ahead and give you one of my first tips, Paul. The first thing I did was change all the credit card numbers. So I called the credit card companies and say, I need you to shut down these numbers. I actually said, I think something has gone awry. Maybe somebody got my number. I'm not sure. I just want a new card number. That process is so stupid easy now. I actually have a friend that does it, I think, once a quarter. Well, now, of course, it's a hassle because you have to set up all your auto bills, but that's also that kind of reminder of everything that is auto billing you. And I was shocked with some of the stuff that was coming through, Paul.
Yeah, you know, there's a few things you are speaking to me, Rick, and I would imagine there's a lot of folks watching and listening to this who can relate to what you're sharing, that we've signed up for something with the best of intent to grab a capability, feature, or service. And maybe we used it initially, but over time we stopped using it. But our credit card is still active and we still get the monthly, or the worst yet, Rick, it's the surprised yearly charge. Like, what? That was a yearly resubscribe thing, and you just ding me for another $199 or whatever it is. That's happened to me. And so what you're sharing is like tip and trick right out of the gates, guys. Change out your credit card. As hard as it is, it's also easy. It's the easiest way, right? So what's the process for that? You just dial up the credit card company, say, I want to refresh my cards here. I want to replace them.
Yeah, some of them even let you do it online now. I mean, that's how easy the process has become. But I choose the call-in method because I want to be clear and have it noted on my account. And here's a key thing, gang. It's easy to do online, but you can't always get the full context. Tell them that you think something's happened and I want the other number declined. So sometimes if you get a different number, then the old number will still work. Right. Because they've got that in the system, even though you've got a new credit card because of auto bills. So if you call them and say, I want this number declined and only this new number here to work, then you're a lot safer. So that's why I choose the call-in method. And let's be honest, the subscription model is where it's at. If you think about even some of the bigger companies, Paul, like Microsoft, right? There used to be, hundreds of SKUs for Microsoft Word and Office and all the different things, but it was thousands and thousands of dollars. I remember I used to pay at R Squared, I used to pay, I think, $4,000 a year to be a partner. And then it was like $1,100 a year. And I would get 5 licenses to the complete suite of Microsoft Office. Right. So but it's $5,000. And then 365 comes out and was like $23 a month for the same thing. And you're like, whoa, like that's such huge savings, right? Yeah. But it's because of the subscription model. It's that set it and forget it. And it's, out of your mind. And that's where, I mean, when you see a company make that level of jump, right, that subscription model has got to be generating more revenue, not less.
You know who really kind of pioneered the whole subscription model, at least in the 21st century?
Who's that?
The guy who started Napster. I remember, I can't remember his name, but I remember
Sean.
Yeah. He was sharing, he says, the future of e-commerce is in subscription models. He says 100% believe it. Now, nobody at that time was doing subscription models, right? Adobe was selling their product. Everybody was selling box products. He says it's not in the box product. It's in the service, and it's going to be a subscription model. And this is before, the cloud was really a term or a name. And now we got metaverse, right? Which is just the future of the internet. But it's really interesting how that has evolved, because it really doesn't, it's almost a no-brainer sometimes to say, oh, okay, yeah, that's not bad. I'll pay for that. And who really started this was a newspaper industry years ago. They're really the innovators of, the monthly subscription thing. And, but you know what? I've gotten caught up in it. This is a, right here, guys. The challenge is out there that Rick's really given me. I need to go back and do a personal inventory of all my monthly and yearly charges, because there's a bunch. I was telling Rick before the recording, I've got a couple of Dropbox accounts. I only use one Dropbox account. Okay. But at work, I needed some support for some of my teammates. So I picked up a Dropbox for them for, saying, look, I'll just get you started, but here it is. Well, I got them started using my credit card. Guess who's getting dinged every year for those things, right? Yeah. So that's a big charge. Dropbox, you're making a lot of money off me. And, I've got some other services out there that I know I'm paying for that I'm not really using. So the challenge, I think, for me, Rick, and maybe for all of our listeners and viewers, is go out there and find the 5 things. Maybe there's more, maybe there's 10, maybe there's 20, but I bet you there's at least 5 items of reoccurring charges, whether they're monthly or yearly, that you're leveraging. And maybe you had the best of intent early on, but do you really need it? Do you really want it? And maybe try Rick's advice. Go call the credit card companies. Say, hey, look, I need to change out my credit card. Need to change that up. What other tips do you have, Rick?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was Sean Parker. Sean Parker is founder of Napster. I was reaching for that. I didn't want to interrupt, but so when you cancel the number, what'll happen is you'll start getting the decline statements coming into your email. And then now the effort is, do I want to go give them my credit card number? But that does give you an upper hand a little bit as well. Because there's a lot of companies, I think, that are very unscrupulous in their subscription that way. So one of the tips I always look at is, before now I sign, if I'm about to subscribe for something, I'll go first to their frequently asked questions and look at the unsubscribe process. Yeah. And, if it just says, hey, you notify us, whatever like that, even there's a lot of companies that even if you do get that annual charge, if you call within 30 days or something of that sort, they'll refund it back and allow you to cancel. And to me, that's the reputable side. I had this one company, they called me, and it was they were a new company and they were pushing out this executive side and helping you find board appointments and that kind of stuff and advisory clients and guaranteed a certain amount of stuff. And it was expensive. And but they were offering like 10%, like for 10% of the cost because it was beta and it was new. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll try that. Right. So it was a couple of $100, no big deal. Then I got dinged for $4,000. And I called them. I was like, what is this? They were like, well, that's it. And I was like, well, I don't want the service. You guys haven't delivered anything for a year. So just go ahead and cancel a refund. They're like, well, you can cancel, but we're not going to refund. Well, I just moved my card, but they allowed the charge to go through because I didn't tell them to stop, to decline. Oh. This is the company I learned how to do that with. But when I went back to American Express, I was like, look, they charged the old number. I have this new one. It's a fraudulent charge. I shouldn't be charged for it. And American Express just took it off. Right. So the point of that is by doing this on a regular basis, it becomes more effort. It's not as much effort as you think to put your new credit card number in for all of your auto bills, because each time you do, that's a concerted effort of this is the one I want to keep. Yeah, right. Yeah. That was the biggest thing that I learned is it's not as much as you think it is. Right. But we just fear that change. One other side of that, Paul, I'm fearing that change. I'd done this thing. We talked about, Christian Simpson and monetizing. And I've done this story quite a bit about going out and setting up my website, building all the courses, all that stuff, and hoping that it was going to sell, and it didn't. I've been holding on to that though. So for a while I was paying like $297 a month for ClickFunnels, but I had like 7 different websites. So the first thing I did was shut down some of those websites, go to $97 a month. But then I looked over the last year and I was like, what am I holding on to this for? Other than like rickamorris.com is, my website. But I was sitting there going, I don't know how many people are actually calling me because of the website. It hasn't been updated in a while. And it's actually harder to go update than build fresh, right? It really is once you're kind of locked into a design and all that stuff. And I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to cut it. And that was a hard decision, but that allowed me to cut like 4 other services as well. That was costing me like $300-400 a month. So this is where that spring cleaning idea really came to be, Paul. I had to let go of some of my older baggage that I was afraid to let go of.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, this is such a good tip here, what Rick has brought up. He and I had a different how-to topic before we turned on the record, and we were just having a conversation. And when he brought up some of these ideas, I said, dude, that's what we need to talk about. Because there's a lot of folks, a lot of you guys that we know that you've subscribed to something with the best of intent. And, here's another tip for you, Rick. I know it's so easy to put the credit card in, right? When you're on the website, you're like, okay, cool. I'll just in fact, Chrome has made it even easier because once you put it in there, you can save it off. And, your password allows you to get quick access to your credit card and it's there, right? Yeah. I think you can use your Amazon account sometimes to subscribe to things, which means it's super easy. But the question that I have, the challenge I have for myself and maybe for everybody else is, do I really need to want to use my credit card for that? And the second part of that question is, let's say it's something that you do want. Let's say it's your cell phone bill. That's something that you need to pay for. But do you really want to put your credit card against that account? Or do you really want to put your bank account on their site? Really? Because, guys, let's be honest, man. Internet's a scary place sometimes. And if data isn't protected in the right way, they're going to get access to it. They're going to get information. They're going to get your address. They're going to get some other things. And there's some scary things that can happen. But here's my recommendation. Have a good bank. I use USAA. There's lots of good ones out there. Make your bill pay through your bank. Don't go to the account. I mean, I'm guilty as charged here, guys. I actually have several things where I've just entered in my credit card and I need to go fix that. What I really should do is bill pay from my account, and I can automate those things too. And they can do it. There's a little reach out. There's a business to business transaction that can take place if it's a reputable merchant that will tell the bank how much you owe. So Citi card, I have a Citi card. I have that set up so that my USAA knows and tells me, hey, you have a bill for this amount of money, and I can schedule them. I can make it all work through there. And that way I've got a little bit more protection. And it's a little bit of work. I know it's not as easy. It's so much easier to use a credit card. I get it. But I'm telling you, it's a lot more work to try to fix a problem if you put that credit card down and you can't really chase it down. So just a thought.
No, it's a great thought, and it needs to be a credit card.
Yeah.
It needs to be a credit card.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest, coolest things, speaking wise, is probably, I don't know, it's probably 8-9 years ago now, Paul, but I shared the stage with Frank Abagnale. Catch Me If You Can, that Leonardo DiCaprio, played him.
Yeah.
And it was a great question from the crowd. The crowd asked him, would it be easier to do what he did now than when he did it like in the 60s, right? So he was basically an imposter and was acting like he was a pilot and was cashing checks and stuff like that fraudulent checks for Pan Am, I believe. And he said it's so much easier these days. He goes, it's ridiculous. He goes, when he was doing it back in the 60s, he had to really research to find the bank that Pan Am used and all that kind of stuff. He goes, now I can just call any company and go, look, I'm the CFO of your partner. I need your routing number. I need your bank account number. And that's it. Like that was the hardest part, was coming up with the account number and that would pass through. And he said, so it's so much easier these days. But what he said was, don't ever use a debit card. Ever. Good. And at the time I was traveling completely on a debit card, Paul. I had a debit card for my business. And he said, you go get a credit card. And because if there's a fraudulent charge, credit card company is responsible for it. If it's a debit card, you are. He goes, that alone, plus you're not getting any credit at all for paying it off. So get a credit card, pay it off, do that every month. You'll see your credit go through the roof. So for those of you that are struggling to build a credit profile, you can turn around, even if you start with a secured card or something like that, just make sure it's low interest and make sure that you're paying it off every 30 days. Yes. But your bills, your utilities, don't pay your utilities through your bank account. Pay your utility based on this credit card and then pay the credit card with your bank account. And it's the same amount of money. You'll start to get into a cycle where you just build incredible wealth.
Yeah. So there's a difference here between push and pull, guys. Right. So there you go. If you're putting in your debit card, they're going to pull from your account, right? If you put in your checking account number on that site, if you put in your debit card, they're going to pull from it. If you put your credit card, they're going to pull from it. But if you put your credit card, it's a layer of protection. Now, the protection's only good if you pay that bill off. Let's be honest, right? And the propensity for most Americans, or probably Canadians, wherever you're at, chances are you're probably very tempted just to let that bill just ride for a while. And then you start to build up some debt. And that's never fun. And if you're there, understand that, I've been there, but you can get out. Just eat the elephant one bite at a time. You can get out of that. But it's a push or a pull. So what you want, what I was suggesting in my prior tip is, if you can manage it through your bank account, then you do the push. You're the one who initiates the transaction, and you can still automate it, but nobody's going to pull it from you without your knowledge. You are fully aware of it. I do like, if you are going to use if you are going to put in an account, use a credit card. Rick's spot on. If that's the way you need to go and you've got to put something down, pull that. I remember one time, just like you, Rick, we cut up all the cards. We did the Dave Ramsey thing, cut up every single credit card in the house, paid off all the debt. It was fantastic. No greater feeling than that. Then we started traveling. All of a sudden, I'm getting these huge dings on my account. We go to the Holiday. No, it's not Holiday Inn. It was the Orlando Marriott World Center. You've been there a few times, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my wife travels down there. She puts the debit card down because they need a card to hold the room for the week, right? And they automatically put charges on your card right away.
Well, not charges, they're holds.
But
it takes the money out of the account.
It takes money out of the account. And so I get this alert, from USAA, like, what is going on? I got a charge for that. It's a hold, but it's on a debit card. Not a good thing. So I call them up, I had to put some more money in the checking, and, everything was fine. But lesson learned for me was, for my wife and for me, hey, when you travel, use a credit card.
Yeah.
Every single time. Use a credit card. I love Dave Ramsey. I love you, Dave. You're fantastic. But when you travel, you need that protection. And you're not going to necessarily get that, at least from my experience, from a debit card. But you could get that if it's a good, reputable credit card. You should be able to get that.
And do your research. There's no reason not to research, credit card offers and that kind of stuff. So there is a certain aspect of loyalty to a card, but with so much competition for credit cards and that kind of stuff, I have a friend of mine who's teaching me this, because I'm not very good at this. I'm just learning this now, who is amazing at balance transfers. So basically what'll happen is, she's got such great credit, but she'll have like, $6,000 on this one card, and it's coming up to where it's going to start accruing interest. She gets another card that allows $10,000 of transfer at 0% for 24 months. And it does charge like a 3% transfer fee, but you're paying 3. And then you've got another 2 years to pay that $6,000 down when you're about to start accruing at like 15 or 18 or 19% interest, right? So the amount of money she saves just in interest payments by being fiscally responsible is insane. Whereas I think I'm being loyal and I'm getting dinged like crazy on interest charges and that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, Paul, most people get into credit card debt, I think, the exact way that I'm into it right now, which is multiple accounts. Everything's great. Everything's zero balance, really, debt free. All that's fine. And then all of a sudden something happens in life. In my case, the divorce. And so as not only that, but I'd walked away from that number one revenue source. So all of a sudden now bills are coming in and I'm struggling. So you start to use the cards, and unfortunately then the cards get maxed out. Now you got monthly payments there, and you have no rainy day fund. Yeah. Essentially, I think that's how most Americans do it.
Yeah.
Because it's for 12 years, I didn't have any balance on any credit card. Now, all of a sudden, I'm carrying these balances. And again, it becomes a struggle. And I feel like it's interesting to me that when I had that level of credit, everything was 0%. But when you start to struggle, they want to up the percentage and take more money from you. I've always felt like that was backwards in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like it's when you don't have it, then they want more of it, or won't give you a break, or won't give you a loan, or, you know what I mean? That's when you need it. But when you don't need it, they'll give everything in the world to you. It was just really interesting.
Yeah, it really, one of the things I want to talk about is short-term debt versus long-term debt.
There you go.
All right. So a few years ago, I'm in a situation, guys, where I have some credit card debt. And for most of my life, I had never, I'd always pay the credit card off, and it snuck up on me. What he's talking about is real. Life happens. And you just like, okay, where can I go? What can I do to pay for this? And you'll use the credit card, or you get a personal loan or whatever. And all of a sudden you've got debt. It happens. So I was like, I wanted to erase this debt. So I thought about refinancing my house. So I sit down with a friend of mine, and I would have been able to get some cash out, and I would have raised my mortgage rate. My rate isn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. So it wasn't like I needed to do it for a better rate. What I was thinking about doing was just getting some equity out of the house to pay some of these credit cards down. And a friend of mine sat down. He says, Paul, you're exchanging a long-term debt to pay a short-term debt. And I was like, well, come again? He goes, well, think about it. You're going to take a loan out to pay for short-term debt, and you're going to be paying for it for the next 30 years. Yeah. Do you really want to pay for it for the next 30 years? You're going to erase that short-term debt, yes, but you're still paying for it for 30 more years. Is there another way around it? And I was trying to go for the easy route. I was thinking, I'll just get some equity. I'll just pay it. And he was right. All I had to do was change a few things to get started, just get the momentum going. I do like the debt snowball concept that Ramsey talks about, just starting with that one thing. But this is even easier than the debt snowball, what Rick brought up at the front end. Rick, while we're on this call, I just did some quick crunches. I've got 5 reoccurring charges. Some are yearly, some are monthly. I won't get into all the details, but I just did a quick assessment, and these are 5 things I don't really use anymore. 5 things. Do you know how much I'm paying for those 5 things? And there was one more that I thought of as just before I started sharing on this one.
$1,200.
Close to it. $900.
Yeah.
$900 on that one. But if I add that one that's $75 a month that started as 10,
yeah,
that's the other thing. I had one Hootsuite. I don't know what happened. I had a special Hootsuite account, $10, and it moved to 75, and I have no idea why. Okay. I'm figuring that one out. So by the time this gets aired, I'm sure I'll have figured it out. But that's a $65 delta from what I was paying to $75 a month. So that's a pretty significant amount. That's $1,000 right there a year. So, pretty close to it. So guys, here's the thing. You can take care of $1,000, like that, just by going through, reassessing all your accounts, and if you're not willing to cancel your credit cards, at least go look at your credit card bill, because if you're like me, you just pay it off every month, which is good, but go look and see what the charges are. Are there any surprises there?
It's the old IT server concept, though. Yeah. Back in the day, when I remember walking through the bank. I mean, this is early technology involved.
Yeah,
somebody would point at that, goes, "What does that server do?" And like nobody would know. And so I'd go, "Well, unplug it. Let's find out who screams." Right? Like we would literally just unplug it, and the department was like, "I can't get to my reports." We're like, "Oh, our bad." We plug it back in, but several times we'd unplug it. We wouldn't hear anything about it. Same thing. If you change that credit card, that's that server. We're just turning off the spigot. And if anybody needs to drink, they can come to us, and we'll tell you, where to go get new water. But it was really, really eye-opening for me to be able to do that, and the amount of stuff. Gifts. I had a gift subscription for somebody's kid. It was like for 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, dude. The kid's like 12, 13, and they're still getting it. And they're like, "Oh, it's too young," and they're tossing the trash. Nobody reads that. That was hitting me like $345 a year. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a bunch, and I was just scratching out a few. We'll have to do a check-in later, to see, well, what did we really find in the closet of consumer expenses, there that we didn't think about. There's some significant savings that we all can do, guys. And look, if it's something that you love and care for, and it's a service that provides value to you, look, we're not telling you to stop. There's some good things out there, and certainly do that, but be smart, be prudent with what you've got. You have the opportunity to make an impact in the lives of other people, and don't let your finances, this is really for me more than anybody, don't let your finances impact what you can do for others. So if I'm spending out money, and in other words, I got some leaks. I have some leaks. I got $900 worth of leaks right there, just on my piece of paper that I wrote out. $900 a year of leaks. And I know there's more leaks, and I haven't found them all. And that's money I could attribute. I could send somewhere else and be able to support other things and be able to do better things with, or save it up for something else. So this is a great challenge. And I love any other how-to tips as we close this one out.
I think again, it's just really assessing the importance. So using that IT server concept, I struggled with taking, rickamorris.com down. But when I started to add it up and try to find out, and so far it's been 3-4 weeks since I shut it down, and I've heard one thing from anybody about it. I haven't had anybody reach out to me and go, "Hey, I was going to check this out and noticed it was down." You know what I mean? Like nothing.
Let me ask you this question. This is kind of fun. Domain names.
Oh my God. I've let so many go, Paul. I've let so many go, dude.
Dude, are there domain names that you've bought that you just continually resubscribe, $12 a year? I've got probably about 50. That's $600 right there.
Well, we've talked about it. It's our trail of broken dreams, right? We talked about. That's what we said. Is I can go on there. It's like, because the first thing I do with any business idea is go secure domain name, right? Yeah. So I had so many. I've let so many go, Paul. I've let so many. A year ago, 2 years ago, I said, okay, I'll be willing to sell them, but not let them go. So somebody, you know what I mean? And then I just started letting a bunch of go. Like one of them was like social wishing. Like I had this great idea. It was like 15 years old, dude. Like right when Facebook was coming out, I had this idea and wanted to do it. Always felt I was going to get around to it. And I just finally let it go. Because nowadays too, it doesn't, because domain names are so they like metaverse, like stuff like that. We're just inventing terms and it becomes like Twitter. Like, you know what I mean? Like nobody would have even thought to go get Twitter. Right. Yeah. So stuff like that. You can just come up with any weird name you want to satisfy whatever domain you want and go after it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I bought a few domains there, but guys, this has been a great conversation here for Rick and I just to talk about, because we know we got some spring cleaning to do and we're working through it. We want to challenge you guys. We want to encourage you to do some of that spring cleaning. Go through some of the things that you have. What are some of the surprises? And if you have tips for us that you want to just share with us, just reach out. We would love to echo some of the ideas and tips that you guys have. Visit us at breakingaverage.com and you'll see a connect button there, and love to hear from you. And Rick, any final words? What's the tip or challenge that you want to give everybody?
So tip is to do the spring kind. The challenge is if you went after listening to this podcast, if you did go save some money or shut down a subscription or even found $50, a month that you were able to give back to your families, let us know about it. Let us know on the Empowered Living Show. Let us know on YouTube comments or via social media. But, obviously your time is precious. It's the one thing we can't get back. And if you just gave us these 45 minutes to listen to this podcast, what did that earn you back for doing that? Like, I'd love to know how much money we're able to save. Maybe we can save, a goal here, Paul, is saving $20,000 from our listeners in subscriptions that they shut down. Would that be a good goal, Paul?
Oh yeah. So I love that one. Right, guys. I think Rick's onto something here. Let's see how much together. We need to hear from you, but let's see how much money we can save, guys. We want to hear from you. How much did you save by going through a spring cleaning here? And so definitely share the tips that you have and some advice. We want to hear that, but we want to know, how much did you actually save? And this could be fun because, there's some good things ahead for you, and having a little bit more money in your pocket is going to definitely help. It's going to put a bigger smile on your face and maybe a better experience for those in your life. So, Rick, fantastic. I enjoyed it. I'm just going to echo your tip and challenge. I love it. And we want to encourage everybody to jump on board and save yourself some dough. So, all right. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk to everyone again next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Breaking Average podcast. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe. All opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or views of any of the advertisers, producers, or platforms. This show was produced by R² Multimedia. A special thank you to Milestone Melodies for our theme music. As you continue your day, what is one action that you can apply from this podcast to your life? Tune in for our next episode as we continue to challenge everyone to break average.